Again, I want to stay with this breaking news too. As we mentioned, Ryan Wedding arrested in Mexico City. He is a former snowboarder with Canada's Olympic team. He competed at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. Want to bring in now to former, also another Canadian Olympic snowboarder, Ross Rebagliati, Ross, I want to ask you too, at least at this point. I know you're a little bit older than Ryan Wedding, but he was an up-and-coming snowboarder. Tell us what you knew about Ryan Wedding before he got into this life of crime, before he went down this path. What were your impressions of him as a snowboarder and as a person?
Yeah, well, when I met Ryan, yeah, you're right. I'm about 10 years older than him, and at the end of my career, and Ryan was just 18 or 19, and he was like 6'3". You know, he looked like Superman. He was going to be the next, and pretty much was the next best guy on tour that we had seen. And so, yeah, no, everything's all pretty shocking that he gone down this path, but from what I remember, you know, he had good family support, and his mom and dad were at all the races, and yeah.
Yeah, how shocking has it been to you, Ross, when you watch someone like this that you knew, as a, I say a kid, because he's 18, 19 years old. He's on this path to be a Canadian Olympic snowboarder, to be at the peak of his sport at the highest level, but then watch what happened to him and the life that he was eventually, dragged into and got, again, down that path.
Yeah, it's definitely, a bit of a sad story for sure. I mean, he was at the top of his game in sports, when this all happened. But in some ways, I can understand, the path that he took just because of the lack of funding in Canadian sport in general. And just kind of, when you're that old and you're coming into your 20s, or you're in your 20s, your friends are kind of going to university and starting families, and so for him, his future was probably top of mind. And when he didn't perform, at the top of his game in Salt Lake City, then he probably was thinking, like, what's the next thing that he can do, in his life to earn an income. And, what he did wasn't exactly, your average career path. But, we have to remember in the early 2000s, during Prohibition, cannabis was selling for around $3,000 a pound, which is more than triple what it's selling for now. And so you can kind of understand the allure that he might have had at the time.
And for you too, again, just respond and on that same line too, because even back then, and I'm not sure, tell me if things have changed. Funding is a little bit better, but snowboarders weren't allowed to get sponsorships, right? That there was very much a lack of funding, and in order to support this life that a lot of you were trying to live and again compete at the highest level.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when you get to that level. You have the national teams, and you're not allowed to have your own sponsors. And so coming into the Olympics, that was a big change for snowboarding. For me in particular, being at Nagano, which was the first time snowboarding came, we had to let go of all of our sponsorships that we had built up over the years. And, I even had my own bill to pay after Nagano, and I'm sure Ryan's trip to Salt Lake City wasn't 100% paid for either. And so, as Canadian athletes, we do it for the passion. We're not so much doing it, for the payout. And, I think in Ryan's case, was absolutely the same situation. And, yeah, I mean, there's only one reason why you go down a road like Ryan's, and that's to make money, and at all costs. And that's what he did.
Ross Rebagliati, appreciate your time, and thanks for this insight today. Thank you.